Yahweh Shalom Shah. Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Because all the blessings that we're going to get, which is entailing the kingdom of heaven, Isaiah the 60th chapter, I'm going to start at the 10th verse and read on down. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the sons of strangers, that's talking about the actual strangers, the other nations, shall build up thy walls. We're going to have them in slavery. So they're going to be building the kingdom of heaven, because we're not building nothing. We're not lifting a hand to move nothing. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. That's talking about the actual Gentiles. We're going to take all of their substance, and that their kings may be brought.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Verse 13. And the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem, is going to be made glorious. It's going to be made glorious once again. The kingdom is going to be built up. We had a taste of that during the time of Solomon's reign, which was for about 40 years. Verse 14, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord. The word Zion means monument, the monument of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shall suck the breasts of kings, meaning we're going to take all their substance. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord thy power, the Lord and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring thee gold, and for iron I will bring thee silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. And I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and the power thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, meaning our kingdom is not going to go down. In other words, once we get back in power, we're going to be in power forever. The sun is never going to go down on our kingdom again. The sun is never going to set on our kingdom. We're going to always shine, and we're going to always be in that glory once we get into the kingdom of heaven. There's no more going back into slavery under the other nations. Esau's not going to rise back up and put us in captivity. Ham, Japheth, Ishmael, none of the other nations are going to rise up and take us down ever again. When we get on top this time, we're going to remain on top. Neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. So no more mourning, no more crying, no more vexation of spirit, no more weeping, no more hopelessness because of the condition that we're in as Israelites right now. Verse 21, thy people also shall be all righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. Verse 22, a little one shall become 1,000. This is in the kingdom. So what is this talking about? We're going to have sex. Again, like I said, the 2/3 that are going to pass in this destruction The 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3 that make it. The Lord said, 2/3 shall be cut off and die, and the third will I bring through the fire. It says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory unto first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, going into this morning, news and prophecy. Okay, and just wanted to touch on, a topic dealing with how mass confusion is a part of the devil's plan. Okay, mass confusion is a part of the devil's plan. This is how this man, was able to manipulate the beliefs, all right, the narrative, okay, and the behavior of the masses is through confusion. Okay, the devil, he's the master at creating confusion, okay, and operating in that confusion to pull off what he wants to pull off. Okay, so what we're seeing in these latter days, the scriptures speak about how information shall run to and fro. Well, the devil, has used, the speed of information to cause confusion. And we're going to get into, a few of these things in the chat. Got a few videos I want to go into. But first, like we usually do, we're going to go into some scriptures, man. Okay, because the Lord prophesied about these times and the confusion, okay, that will be in the earth. And this makes the truth, confusion really, gives value to the truth. Okay, because having the truth is our stability in the midst of this mass confusion that the devil is pushing out the earth, man. All right, throughout the earth. Okay, because you're seeing people, easily taken, by the easiest gimmicks, the things that, seem kindergarten to us. Okay, this is everything to someone that's operating from a state of confusion. Okay, and the devil, he's mastered at keeping, confusion just ongoing to you where you never get a break. There's never a time, if you're not in this truth, there's never a time where you're not confused about multiple things. Okay, if you're not in the truth and growing in the truth and rooted in this truth, well, this devil has it to there's a time where he has it set up to where there's never a time where you're not confused. Okay, so let's get some precepts and then we'll get into some more things. Got a few videos. You had Trump speaking at Davos, the World Economic Forum yesterday, which that was a complete, psyop, just to cause confusion. It had nothing to do with nothing, man. That nigga talked about a bunch of nothing, okay? And they do that intentionally just to keep people arguing, keep people distracted, and keep people confused, man, okay? So when you go to the book of Isaiah chapter 60, verse 2, it says, for in fact, darkness will cover the earth, and deep darkness will cover the peoples, man. Okay, the earth is in a state of deep darkness and confusion. Okay, Esau, Edom, this man has created a society, of darkness, man. And he calls this darkness light, as the scriptures say. people's confusion, and people think they're transcending and so they progress so much, and humanity is at a place that it's never been. And they're right; it's a place of confusion that it's never been. Okay, to where people argue about the simplest things. Okay, should a man play women's sports? How confusing is that? Okay, it's a trans, it's a transformer. It's a man, but it's a woman. So can they play women's sports? What bathroom can this nigga go into? That's confusion. Okay, the planet Earth has never been this confused, man. You see, arguing about abortion. Well, when is the fetus living? Or when is it considered, murder? When is it alive? Okay, soon as the seed hit the egg, it's alive. Okay, everyone started from a fetus and grew into what they are. Okay, and it's just some examples of how darkness has covered the earth. Okay, men arguing with women, you know, or women argue with men, gender wars. That's all based on confusion, just to keep people confused. Okay, this podcast speaking about what women bring to the table. This podcast speaking about what men bring to the table. This podcast going in on the modern woman. This podcast saying women, are superheroes and goddesses. And, all this madness, man. It's just confusion. Okay, everyone is just talking in circles in this man's society, man, and it's deep darkness. Okay, you arguing over the left and the right. Okay, Democrat and Republican, and they all do the same thing. Okay, but people, you got people divorcing, their spouse behind Democrat and Republican, people getting into altercations, and okay, people, you got people falling out, businesses, and just all type of madness is confusion based around nothing, man. Okay, and this how this devil operates. Okay, so I want to get this word darkness because it's going to be a word that's going to come up, throughout this lesson. Once you go here, all right, get this word darkness, and then we'll finish that precept. Okay, but Esau, he's the bringer of darkness. Okay, he's all about, keeping the masses confused, divided, and distracted. Especially for his latest stunt, to attempt to roll out this new world order, this digital prison. Okay, so in the Hebrew, it's Hashak. Okay, Hashak in the Hebrew for darkness, which goes into darkness and obscurity. Okay, darkness and obscurity. Now, let's get this word obscurity real quick. Okay, because this is a word that's going to come out often as we go through. We'll see the word obscurity, but you get this word obscurity. Let's go into the meaning. Okay, it says obscurity means the state of being unclear, unknown, or hard to understand, stemming from a lack of light, fame, or clarity. It says it can refer to something dim like a foggy view or someone living unnoticed, while synonyms include ambiguity, dimness, mystery, vagueness, highlighting its core sense of indistinctness or a hiddenness. And it says lack of fame. It says being unknown and unimportant. The opposite of fame. This is the main point. It says lack of clarity. Okay, being vague, ambiguous, or difficult to comprehend. And this devil, he has created a society that's just difficult to comprehend. His legal system, the judicial branch, the executive branch, the legislative branch, the Congress. You got to pass through the House, and then the House got to go through Congress, and the Congress and the president can veto it, and you got to go back again. Okay, the money system. Okay, this nigga money system is difficult to comprehend. Okay, the debt, the interest, the bonds, treasury bonds, like dividends and, quantitative easing. Okay, This nation is dumping their bonds, their treasury bonds, and it's just like, goddamn. Okay, but this man does that because he's able to do wickedness when everyone's confused. Okay, he's able to operate in pure wickedness when everyone's confused, divided, and distracted, man. Okay, so this man has created a society, that's difficult to understand. That's why he's saying, see, this is why AI, okay, because he intentionally create these things to be difficult. A lot of Esau kingdom, a lot of things are unnecessarily complex, unnecessarily. Well, he makes it complex for the sake of confusion. Okay, but then he'll use, okay, the complexity that he created in these systems, the confusion that he creates, this unnecessary, complexity and difficulty of these systems. He uses that to say, well, look, this is why we just need these experts to run it. Because technocracy is saying, look, we just need the experts, the people that understand the numbers and the formulas and this and that. We need them to run society. Okay? That's going to be part of his sale pitch for this technocracy, man. But he wants you scratching your head. He wants you, on edge at all time, not knowing if you're coming or going. Okay? He's going to present this technocracy as the fix-all to the confusion. Okay? It said, but the Lord will rise upon you. The Lord will rise upon you, Jerusalem, and this is the elect. You see, the Lord has given a light, all right, when you go to finish it off, and his glory and brilliance will be seen on you. Okay, and see, the scriptures say how, this wisdom we have is likened unto a light, and as the earth is becoming more and more confused, okay, well, this light is becoming more and more bright, and it's causing us to stand out to the point to where everyone's trying to feed off the light. Because you look at these talking points, of these podcasters and alternative news, where they're trying to ride the wave for the prophets, man, because the prophets is the only thing making sense. And it's the wisdom of Yahweh Shem Al Shad is coming through the prophets, man. Okay, so when you read Proverbs 4 and 18, but the path of the just is as a shining light. Okay, so we have a light. This wisdom is guiding us through this time. We can see. We're clearly seeing how we should move and operate in these times through this wisdom, man. Through faith in Yahweh B'Shem Al Shai, and it's becoming more and more clear. Okay, that this world is finished and we on the right path, man. It said that shining more and more until the perfect day. Okay, so you have the path of the just is as a shining light. It said that shining more and more until the perfect day, man, which is a day when we're going to be perfected at the coming of Yahweh. We're going to be changed. But there's no doubt we on the right path, man. Okay, there's no doubt about what's the problem with the earth. There's no doubt of how we should be. We should be constantly separated from this world, man. Dead to this, man. Okay, this place is done. Okay, this place is becoming more wicked, more degenerate. Okay, people are becoming more confused. Okay, Esau, Edom, this man is running the earth into the ground. And the Lord allowed us to be pulled out of the darkness, the confusion. The Most High took us out of confusion. Okay, there was a chosen remnant from the beginning that the Lord would have mercy on in these times and remove us from that confusion, that darkness, man. Okay, to where we can see. Now we have clarity, where people are confused, that we have complete clarity, man. Okay, and the devil, as he gets closer and closer to trying to pull this off, this new world order, he's just saturating the earth with all type of confusion, man. Then he has AI in the mix, that can make confusion look authentic. You can imitate a voice of, newscasters and, these philosophers and scholars. He can imitate their voice and you'll think it's on point. It's straight confusion, man. Okay. I'm catching, some of the things I'm watching, I'm on YouTube, quite heavy as far as, scrubbing it for information. Okay. but it's a lot of AI to shuffle through now. There's a lot of confusion and lies mixed in with truth, and you know because this devil, he needs that confusion. He needs people confused, divided, and distracted. Okay, to pull off his agendas. Okay, First Peter 2:9 said, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people." And this is speaking to the remnant. Okay, beginning with the 144,000, which are the priests, that royal priesthood. Okay, and holy nation. Okay, which that's the 1/3. The rest of the 1/3 beyond the first, after the first fruits. Okay, are holy people, separated. Okay, from the beginning. It says, "A peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praise of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light," man. Okay, so we've been called out of darkness into a marvelous light. Okay, so we've been called out of confusion into clarity. We know the names of our power. We're not confused. Oh, he go by many names. No, he has one name, Yahweh. His son has one name, Yahweh Shai. Okay, we understand we're the Israelites. We're the chosen people. And then we understand it goes beyond color. Okay, it goes back to a lineage. So you have Israelite foreigners who look like other nations, man. Okay, anything concerning truth, we have clarity on it because we've been brought into this marvelous light, man. And we understand what we got coming. Okay, there's an age after this age. A lot of people are so caught up in confusion, they don't see nothing outside, okay, of the reality, the false reality that's being fed to them by Esau. Okay, a lot of people going to bend the knee. Okay, they're going to, take the chip, the MOTB. Okay, because they don't see nothing outside this system, man. Okay, because they're going to be operating from confusion. It's going to seem like the best thing to do. Okay, now I want to get this video here. What we at? Yeah, and it's intentional confusion what the devil is doing, and Trump is nothing but an agent of confusion. Okay, that's all Trump is. He's an agent of chaos. He's meant to cause confusion. Okay, like everybody trying to figure out what this nigga doing, what he doing next. It's just random. He's meant to be like that. Okay, he's meant to go out there and say things that contradict and don't make sense. Okay, just to stir up more confusion. That's his job as the actor. Okay, the president of the United States is like hiring an actor in Hollywood. Okay, so he's playing his role. Okay, to cause mass confusion, to break people's minds down, to overwhelm people, to weaken people's psyche for the new world order. Because we're going to go into how confusion plays a major part in manipulating the masses of the mind. All right, the minds of the masses for control. Okay, so this devil Trump is an agent of confusion to break down people's psyche. Okay, and weaken them for the implementation of this new world order, man. Okay, so let's play this.
We are living through fascism. That is the first message of this video. We are therefore living through a period of unprecedented chaos. That is the second message of this video. The US is no longer our ally, and as a result, NATO is over.
So we say fascism. Fascism is just authoritarian government. Okay, a government that's authoritarian. Okay, a dictatorship. And see, that's another thing. Esau make all these different terms for these different styles of government: communist, fascism, socialism. But ultimately, okay, it's a government of dictatorship. Okay, so let's play this some more.
That is the third message of this video. So, what happens next? Well, the first thing I've got to warn you about is that this will be a long video. I'm sorry, but we are living in a complicated era and there are a lot of things to talk about. But precisely for that reason, stick with this. This is really important. We have to work out what we're going to do, or we're in the deepest of trouble. Let's put this in context. We are living in a period of historic confusion. This may be the most confusing moment in political economic history, not just in living memory, but maybe ever, because the rate of change is so high. Events are moving faster than institutions can think. The rate of incoherence, particularly from Donald Trump, is now a political force in its own right. And that incoherence is very obviously dangerous. We must, in this context, say what is happening. There's no point pretending otherwise. Fascism is rising in the USA. There is a fascist president in that country. Democracy there is being hollowed out. Dictatorship is following. State power is being weaponized against the people of that country. This is, however, unlike the 1930s. In that decade, there was, of course, the monstrous rise of Hitler. But curiously, what he did was predictable. He wasn't as irrational as Trump by a very long way. The sequence of escalation that Hitler followed was pre-announced and effectively entirely logical. Now, the pace is unprecedented, and unpredictability is itself being used as a weapon for destabilization. That's why this is unprecedented. We have not lived through an era like this before. Trump's defining feature is, in fact, his incoherence. He appears deeply confused very often. Only this week, he accused Norway of controlling the Nobel Peace Prize, and they don't. And he appeared to confuse Norway with Denmark, and they are, I can assure you, separate countries. The fact is, he can't even keep the basic facts right. His statements are contradictory and impulsive, but the machinery of state in the USA is being used to validate his claims. We are living in a period where black is white and right is wrong, and everything else is, according to Donald Trump, whatever he thinks it is. And that is why we're living in such a dangerous era. Because confusion has literally become policy. Erratic threats become announcements, and then announcements become strategy, and strategy morphs into coercion at a moment's notice, and coercion is becoming dangerously normalized. And that is the threat that we have to face. Let's just for a moment use Gaza as...
So, as he's saying, Trump is, because even when you go back to Hitler, which all these men, are set up, okay, to be a cult of personalities to forward the agenda, okay, of the elites, okay, Europe, okay, British and their allies were used to weaken, Germany's economy, okay, and then Germany, was built up, okay, as a military powerhouse in World War II to destroy infrastructure of Europe, okay, to weaken Europe, you see? And then what did they do? They opened up shop in America, all right, to be a superpower, which is all prophecy, man. So everything that the elites have been doing, has been lining up with prophecy, man. And they're doing it on the left-hand side. And in their mind, they're thinking they're achieving, they in their mind, they're getting closer and closer to their new world order, not knowing they're just achieving the will of the Most High on the left-hand side, okay? But this devil, he thrives in confusion, and Trump is confusion on another level, okay? And he's just unpredictable. You don't know what this nigga gonna do next. And, a lot of it, he's acting confused, but then when you lie so much, you forget lies. Okay, when you contradict yourself so much, it's easy to forget, what you said, what's this, because they got so many narratives going on with this nigga, man. Okay, it's so many narratives, dealing with Trump, okay, and what he got going on, but it's a bunch of nothing, you see, and that's what the truth, going back to clarity, is we walk in the light, we know it's a bunch of nothing. That's why we stick to the narrative of prophecy, man, and deal with things that pertain to prophecy, man, okay. So, we filter everything to prophecy. So we throw out all the trash, that comes with what this devil is doing. So I asked, I asked the chat, I said, can confusion be used to manipulate the masses as far as beliefs and principles? Can confusion keep people distracted and divided? How would this look in today's time on a global scale? It says, yes, confusion can absolutely be used as a tool to manipulate masses, especially around beliefs and principles. This isn't a conspiracy theory so much as a well documented dynamic in psychology, political science, and media studies. Okay? So this ain't just a theory. No, this is just proven science. Okay? That this devil, because who would study how to weaponize confusion? Who would do that? But the devil, man. It says, I'll break this in three parts why confusion works, how it keeps people distracted and divided, and what it looks like today globally. It says, why confusion works as a tool of influence. Human beings rely on mental shortcuts to make sense of complex realities. When information becomes overwhelming, contradictory, or emotionally charged, several things happen. Cognitive overload. People stop analyzing deeply and rely on identity, emotion, or authority instead of evidence. Okay? So when people have this overload, they're just looking for the short answer. You just keep overwhelming people with all this contradicting, reports and, facts and lies. And okay, people have a cognitive overload, all right, and they just looking for an answer to soothe their emotions, not rooted in facts. Okay, you see, Donald Trump appeased the emotions of the Edomite working class. Okay, they couldn't tell you what he was going to do to people. Didn't even know how terrorists work to a few months ago. Okay, a lot of Americans just now finding out what a tariff is and how they work. Okay, you can't explain the policies that he's putting in place to help the average working citizen. Okay, but he appeased your emotions. He played into your emotions, and he constantly does things here and there that play into the emotions of the people. Okay, and it says decision paralysis. When nothing feels clearly true, people disengage. I don't know what is true anymore. So it said decision paralysis, man. Okay, he wants you paralyzed in your decision making. Okay, so he can instruct you on what decision to make. He can give you an instruction that appeals to your emotion, not facts, not morals, not what's right, but that appeals to your emotions in your confused state. Okay, it says trust erosion. If all sources appear flawed or biased, people lose faith in institutions altogether. And that's why a lot of people, that's why a lot of people are atheists, because Christianity has a bunch of contradictions. So people just throw the Bible out altogether. Okay, or they're running, Jacob say, oh, that's the white man book, and just throw the Bible out. Okay, here it is. You ran and you live in the system of Esau, Edom. Okay, that's completely contradicting the Bible, but you will say the Bible is a so-called white man's book. Okay, and that's all and that's the goal. Okay, that's the goal of confusion, is to make people not look into anything. Okay, man, the Bible flawed, man. Okay, what part? You see, Esau just pushed all this random information out there. Okay, King James was a mole, and all these different things. Just using this as an example. Okay, and it just deters people from even looking into it, because there's so much rhetoric surrounding it. They don't even look into it. Okay, and that's the goal of confusion, is to make you not look into anything, but trust the simple answer that's given. Okay, and it says trust erosion. It says if all sources appear flawed or biased, people lose faith in institutions altogether. All right. It says susceptibility to simple narrative. It said confusion makes people gravitate toward clear us versus them explanation, even if they're inaccurate. Us versus them, Democrats versus Republicans. Okay. Pro ICE, anti ICE, pro juice, anti juice, woman versus man, pro abortion, anti abortion. Okay. Nothing to do with the morals, nothing to do with logical thinking, nothing to do with, building, okay, as far as forward in life. You see, everybody just on this us versus them argument, but no one really even knows what they're arguing about. Okay. It says, in short, confused populations are easier to steer than informed ones, either toward apathy or toward emotional driven, apathy. What I'm saying, either toward apathy or toward emotionally driven positions. Now, when you go into this word apathy, I'm gonna get this word apathy. Okay. So you get this word apathy. All right, it says apathy. It said apathy means a lack of feeling, emotion, interest, or concern. Represent a state of indifference or suppression of passion and motivation towards things others find exciting or important, man. And Esau has people so confused. People are just defeated and burned out. Okay, people are just confused and defeated and burnt out, man. Okay, the way the Salaki, the way the economy going, the way people wages are not cutting it anymore. And that's another thing, confusion, survival mode. Okay. And this he just wearing people out. People are confused, people are in survival mode, people that's professionals are in food lines. Okay. And it's just a constant state, you see, of confusion and survival, man. And it says represent a state of indifference or suppression or passion and motivation towards things others find exciting or important, stemming from Greek roots. It says the word a means without and pathos means feeling. So apathy goes and going to having no feeling. Okay, people are just numb. These niggas are confused people and enchanted people so much they're just numb. It says it's not just laziness, but a deeper disinterest, often appearing as a lack of goal-directed activity and can be a normal experience or symptom of underlying conditions like depression and neurological disorders, man. Going into how the earth languish. Okay. The inhabitants of the earth, do sigh. People on this rat race, people just live in this same pattern, like their life is on loop. Work, eat, sleep. Work, traffic, eat, sleep. Work, eat, traffic, eat, sleep. It's the same loop. You see, on the weekend, you're exhausted. Okay, you blink the weekend over with, back in that loop again. Okay. It said key aspects of apathy. It says absent or suppression of emotion, enthusiasm, or interest. It says symptoms, indifference, lack of motivation, little desire to interact, emotional numbness, and disinterest in normal activity, man. Okay, so this man has, confused people to the point to where people are just disengaged. That's why you don't see any uproar when the devil do particular things that should cause uproar. Okay, the devil, he's able to just do things that would normally cause uproar, but so many people are just disengaged to the happenings and what's going on that they don't even care. You see, things that heavily affect their life, in their situation, the things that they complain about, well, they don't have any reaction, okay, to the system that is making their life a hell. You know, most of you can get is someone complaining, okay, on TikTok, okay, but there's no real action toward people trying to change the situation, man. Okay, or come up with logical thinking, logical solutions. Okay, so people have been, confused and enchanted so much. All right, as it says indifference, lack of motivation, little desire to interact, emotional numbness, and disinterest in normal activities, man. Okay, and I know y'all know this, man. People are just in zombie mode. You see, people are lethargic, 1,000-yard stare. Okay, people are, this man has pushed people in just straight zombie mode, man. To where they're just disengaged. Okay, so let's go. Let's go back to the chat. It says how confusion keeps people distracted and divided. Confusion rarely acts alone; is usually paired with division, fragmentation of reality. When groups are exposed to entirely different facts, society loses a shared baseline of truth. This leads to parallel realities, man. Okay, because what Americans think about Americans and what the world think about America is a completely different reality. Completely different reality, man. Okay? Certain things that's in the West, okay, especially in America, man, the realities that, people live by in the West is a complete different reality in the rest of the world. That's why people can't see that the earth is preparing war for America, man. Because people live in this parallel reality, man. Okay, people think that the American military is just untouchable. Okay, that attacking America is unheard of. Okay, the average person don't know that these nations have hypersonic missiles that can make it over here. All right, in 30 minutes or less. They don't understand that reality. Okay, they don't understand that there's Russian submarines constantly going to and from the coast, east and west coast of the American shores, man. They don't understand that reality. Okay? They can't understand that Trump is just an actor. You know? He's not in charge of anything. They don't understand the global agenda behind everything that we see going on. So you have a lot of different realities in the earth. Okay? And different people exist in these different false realities, man. Okay? It says more certainly without common evidence. It says inability to resolve disagreement peacefully. It says constant outrage cycles. Confusion thrives in fast moving controversy. New crises before old ones are resolved. Okay? So think about it. Week one in the so-called New Year, Venezuela was the talk. Week two, Iran was the talk. Okay? Now Greenland. Okay, Venezuela got a lot of unresolved issues going on based on what America did. Iran, that was the big talk. Then they bagged off that. Then they moved to something else. So before you can comprehend one crisis, it's a new one. And they're doing that on purpose. Okay. Then what it now is going into, because you go into that whole Davos speech with Trump, it was a bunch of nothing. And it was all meant, to cause, it was all meant to just create these talking points, these vain talking points that mean nothing. Okay, he just went up there and lied about the economy. He dissed the EU. Okay, he just dissed the EU. Completely, talked to them like children. And talked about himself. He talked about himself for like 40 minutes, 50 minutes. He talked about himself and everything he done. Nobody can do what he. I mean, it was the hard watch. I was listening to see if he said something, with some substance and some potence. It was all fluff. Okay, it was all vanity, and it was all meant to just create the vain talking points. Okay, it's gonna be all different type of shorts. So he said this and he said that. So the internet just gonna be full with these Trump shorts. Okay, TikTok gonna be full of these short videos of certain parts of the speech, but the nigga didn't say nothing. I'm watching the whole speech. The nigga didn't say nothing of substance, man. Okay, and it says emotional reaction replacing long-term thinking. And that's all Trump does. He knows how to emotionally charge. He knows how to create this emotional charge. Okay, and get people, whether for him or against him, emotionally charged. Okay, it says emotional reactions replacing long-term thinking, attention pulled away from systematic or structural issues. Okay, so this devil will have people thinking that, it's the people that's on food stamps that's the problem with the economy. Okay, not the $1 trillion military budget. You see, yearly budget, not the yearly $1 trillion military budget. Okay, not the high interest rates. You see, not America not being backed, but not the dollar not being backed by anything but a fiat currency, a debt note. Okay, not the wickedness of the banking system. You see, not these major corporations. Okay, not these major corporations that's making all this profit while wages stay stagnant. Profits are through the roof. Okay, production is through the roof. Well, the wages are stagnant. So that's not the problem with the system. It's food stamps. Okay, the drugs are not based on systematic. These governments are allowing these drugs to be moved. Okay, coordinating these drugs to be moved. Okay, well, there's a few boats in Venezuela, Maduro. If we can get Maduro, then the drug problem is fixed. Okay, so forth and so on. There's so many examples. I'm just throwing out a few examples. That's how these devils operate. Just like now with Iran, if they can just get this one leader out, okay, if they get this one leader out, then it'll be solved. Everything will be solved. They get you focused on this one man. Okay, and then sometimes they eventually get this one man, like the Bin Laden and Saddam. They get you focused on this one man. Okay, and then they get to go play the hero and capture the man or unalive him. Okay, so in your mind, your country is fighting for righteousness. Your country is doing the right thing. Okay, they're defending the world from terrorism. Okay, so you don't look at the system. Okay, this whole system is terrorizing the earth, man. Militarily, economically, psychologically, man. Okay, it says so people stay busy arguing, not organized, okay, or reflective. It says identity over principles. It said belief becomes less about values and more about group loyalty, cultural signaling, opposition to the other side. Okay, because you look at when the left and the right argue amongst one another, you have Democrats that do the same thing the Republicans do. But when the Democrats do it, the Democrats cheer it on, and Republicans speak against it. Republicans do the same thing that Democrats do. But Republicans do it, the Republicans cheer it on, and the Dems speak against it. Okay, so people are just loyal to a false identity of left, right. Okay, that it don't make sense. You see? People are not even, it don't make logical sense of what people are loyal to. People are not loyal to logic and reason and morals and standards and virtue, integrity, honesty. That's all that's out the door. You're just loyal to a group now. Okay? People are defending terrible behavior because they're loyalty to a group. And see, people don't want to speak on nigga culture because they're loyal to their group. People don't want to speak against a woman. They're loyal to their group, no matter what the facts show, no matter, okay, how right, a person's argument or their point is. You got people just loyal to groups. That's why niggas get to play the victim when ICE roll on niggas. Okay? But niggas terrorize every goddamn body. Okay? But then when they get rolled on, oh, now let's feel sorry for these niggas. Because it's just about being loyal to a group. No logic, no reasoning, no morals. I say there's a lot of examples, you can go into on that. Or just show you the thinking that confusion creates when people are just loyal to these groups. Okay? You're loyal to the Democrats no matter who runs. Okay? They can put anybody up there as a Democrat, but just because you're a Democrat, you're going to be loyal to that. Okay? And it's crazy, man. It said what this looks like globally today. On a global scale, confusion appears in several interconnected ways. Information saturation, not censorship. Instead of hiding information, systems often flood people with conflicting expert opinions, misleading statistics mixed with real ones, emotional narratives presented as facts. The result isn't ignorance, it's exhaustion, man. Okay? So, that's why a lot of news, brothers that watch a lot of news, you got to cross-reference, fact check, okay, get you some reliable sources, reliable as possible, because we know all these sources that we get information from, they're going to be lacking because they're not moving in the Holy Spirit. We might can scrape information that's that complements the truth and that complements prophecy, that expounds on prophecy. Okay, but everything has to be filtered through the Spirit. You see, because the devil, he put just a bunch of madness out there, man. Bunch of madness that's off. Okay? And you have a completely false narrative of what's really going on. And that's why when things happen, it's good to wait a little minute to let the facts get to rolling in, because the first wave of news is just going to be speculation. Okay? It's going to be propaganda. Okay? And that's why, I say it's good to have certain, go-to sources as best as you can, okay, that are consistent and non-biased, with the facts, okay, as possible, okay. It said the result isn't ignorance, it's exhaustion. It says weaponized ambiguity. It said language becomes vague or elastic. Words like freedom, justice, democracy, safety mean different things to different groups. Policies and actions are justified using emotionally powerful but undefined terms. This allows almost anything to be defended and almost nothing to be resolved. Okay, it's just a bunch of unresolved arguing, man. You look at the internet, okay, just a bunch of unresolved arguing, man. Like the latest thing with Corey Holcomb. Okay, this guy Corey Holcomb and what's his name? Anton Daniels. Okay, these niggas just argue. Okay, that's the biggest thing. And Jake loved an unresolved argument. So now, Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels, which I believe Corey Holcomb is a little more sincere. Anton Daniels showed himself to be a coon. But either way, it's just unresolved arguing back and forth. Okay, because Edomites are a problem, are the problem. And niggas are a problem. Okay, 2/3 are a problem. You see, and we have the clarity to deal, okay, with both sides, because we're Because see, one thing about the truth, it teaches us, because we're, the Lord is refining us to be judges, to be righteous judges, man. So we can see a situation and judge it according to righteousness, not based on loyalty to a group, okay, not based on emotions, okay, but based on righteousness' sake, man. Okay, because Esau Edom is the source of all the problems. That's the foundation. When we speak about wickedness and the problems going on in the earth, okay, the origin and the source is Esau Edom. You gotta start there. Okay, and then when you get to talking about the products of Esau's wickedness, you go into niggas, the nigga woman, this and that alphabet, you go into the products of this nigga wickedness, man. Okay, and we're using logic and reasoning and wisdom, okay, according to the scriptures, man. You see, and when you don't have that, man, it's easy for the devil. When you're not rooted in a belief, it's easy for the devil to have you all over the place, man. Okay, and you're not rooted in these scriptures, man. You see, let's read a little more. It says digital amplification. Social media has amplified confusion. It said algorithms favor emotion over accuracy, conflict over nuance, speed over reflection, and then plus now the AI is in the mix. So AI is going to be another tool of mass confusion. It said this doesn't require a single controlling actor. The system itself rewards confusion, division along multiple fault lines. Okay, so let's go here. It said the deeper effect on beliefs and principles is over time, the sustained confusion can normalize contradiction, lower moral standards, okay, replace principles with survival thinking, make people trade long-term values for short-term certainty or comfort. This is the most dangerous effects. People stop believing truth is obtainable at all. An important distinction: confusion doesn't always I think that's the point, just to go into that, man. But this devil, one of his main tools in this tool belt is confusion. Okay, and what we're seeing is confusion on a whole nother level, and that's why we have to be rooted. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's go here real quick. Let's get this in the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 6 and 7. I'll read this in the AMP. All right, so you're going to Colossians 2 and 6 in the AMP. It said, therefore, as you have received Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, the Lord, walk in union with him, reflecting his character in the things you do and say, living lives that lead others away from sin. So as we receive Yahweh Shah, we begin to walk. This is our life. Okay, this is our belief system in which we govern ourselves, man. Okay, and this is above anything of this world. And that goes into being virgins, because a woman has one authority, and that's her husband. You see, so this truth, all right, that's our authority. Okay, and we don't conform to anything outside of that, man. Okay, so as we receive Yahweh Shah, we begin to walk in that way, and this is the top authority of our life, is this truth. That's why it's going to come a time to where we can't obey the government anymore when it comes to the devil. When he makes the mandate with the sea hip, well, we can't obey anymore. That's what we have to, okay, completely, and we got to take a hard stance in righteousness, man. Okay, but if you go into this time confused, not knowing what's what, you're going to walk right into the trap. Okay, so why did now? Okay, of course, because a part of the doctrine is to be at peace with all men, to obey the government. Okay, but then there's a point that we ain't gonna be able to obey the government. You see, and that's why doctrine is important. You see, that's why the apostles and elders are so big when it comes to the doctrine, man, has to be on point. You know? So within this wisdom, within this doctrine, within this truth, man, we have all the instruction needed, okay, to maneuver in all these different situations and maneuver through all this confusion, man. You see? But if you're dependent on the devil to inform you, man, you're done. Okay, he's setting you up for complete failure. It says his character, verse 7, this is the point. Having been deeply rooted in him and now being continually built up in him and becoming increasingly more established. And see, this is the time we have to be more established than ever, more rooted than ever. Okay? Because before the devil physically comes with, the flood, the troops, and, physically, come for the church, well, he's going to send a flood of confusion and lies out, man. Okay? And this is the time for us to be established more than ever. Like these guys with Genesis, they were just Esau pushing confusion. Okay, that's why the whole doctrine just switched. That was just a tool of confusion that Esau had at his disposal. Get two sellout niggas, put them out there, and just teach a completely different doctrine out of nowhere. That's a tool of confusion, man. But this is why we gotta be established. As we're establishing your house, you can't be told anything. Okay? You can't just pop up and say anything. But a lot of you Israelites that's not rooted in nothing, you're just here hanging out. Okay? You're going to be all over the place, man. Okay? It says in your faith, just as you were taught and overflowing in it with gratitude, man. Okay? So we in a time now to be rooted and established in this thing, what we believe. Okay? Because if not, man, the devil, he's just from the flood confusion. Okay, through the internet, man, through the web. Okay, through these false teachers, these false prophets, man. Okay, but being rooted and established in Yahweh Shai, that we can see these things from afar. Okay, so let's go play this quick video here. Okay, now this was the elder brother, beloved Elder Yashawamba. Okay, he did a video the other day, going into this World Economic Forum. Okay, and the devil, Noah Yuval Harari, he was there, and he gave his spiel on AI. And you just listening to this nigga, and it's like, what is this nigga talking about? Okay, what is this nigga? And Esau, he's becoming confused. A lot of his acting, but then this nigga is really like when he's trying to explain this AI, this nigga is confused, man. Okay, so let's listen to this devil real quick.
And what 21 lessons. So, hello everyone. There is one question that every leader today must answer about AI. But to understand that question, we first need to clarify a few points about what AI is and what AI can do.
And there's a lot of American leaders that more than ever that are here. So something big is getting ready to come. So they're not just talking. These are their plans.
The most important thing to know about AI is that it is not just another tool. It is an agent. It can learn and change by itself and make decisions by itself. A knife is a tool. You can use a knife to cut salad or to murder someone, but it is your decision what to do with the knife. AI is a knife that can decide by itself whether to cut salad or to commit murder. The second thing to know about AI is that it can be a very
So once they implement this as your new government, okay, and it's going to be programmed by the children of Satan, it's going to be authorized to off people who believe in certain things. This is what's coming, okay?
Creative agent. AI is a knife that can invent new kinds of knives, as well as new kinds of music, medicine, and money. The third thing to know about AI is that it can lie and manipulate. 4 billion years of evolution have demonstrated
boy.
that anything that wants to
4 billion
survive
years.
learns.
And nigga said 4 billion years. And he said AI already can lie and manipulate. Okay, so what's the difference between AI, okay, and the current government that runs the world now? That's all Esau does is lie and manipulate. So he's just telling you AI can lie and manipulate. That's Esau. AI is nothing but an extension of this nigga. Okay, it just allows him to be, it allows him more reach. Okay, to govern the people with more control. But he just told you that AI can already lie. You think he's gonna stop lying? Okay, you think he's gonna? So if it can lie, it can be wrong. So his man is gonna set up a system, okay, that is already programmed to lie by this nigga, okay, as the way. Okay. But see, people are so goddamn confused, okay. In their mind, they just got the app, they can make Michael Jackson, sing a trap song. They can make Michael Jackson rap a trap song. Okay. So this is the greatest thing ever. But these devils are telling you, okay, but people are so, in awe at this man's technology. Okay. But they really don't see the play. But that goes into people being in darkness, man. Okay. Confused. So this shit sounds good to the emotions. What the serpent, when he came to Eve, how did Eve react? She said it was good to the flesh. Okay. He appeased to the flesh.
Lie and manipulate. The last 4 years have demonstrated that AI agents can acquire the will to survive, and that AIs have already learned how to lie. Now, one big open question about AI is whether it can think. Modern philosophy began in the 17th century when René Descartes proclaimed, "I think, therefore I am." Even before Descartes, if you observe yourself carefully when you're thinking, you will notice that something else is happening there besides words popping in your mind and forming sentences. You also have some non-verbal feelings. Maybe you feel pain.
Crazy,
Maybe you feel fear. Maybe love. Some thoughts are painful. Some are frightening. Some are full of love. While AIs become better than us with words, at least for now, we have zero evidence that AIs can feel anything. Of course, because AI is mastering language, AI can pretend to feel pain or love. AI can say, "I love you." And if you challenge it to describe how love feels, AI... The immigrants this time will not be human beings coming in fragile boats without a visa or trying to cross the border in the middle of the night. The immigrants will be millions of AIs that can write love poems better than us, that can lie better than us, and that can travel at the speed of light without any need of visas. Like human immigrants, these AI immigrants will bring various benefits with them. We will have AI doctors to help in our healthcare systems, AI teachers. Will your country recognize the AI immigrants as legal persons? AIs are obviously not persons. They don't have a body or a mind. But a legal person...
country accept AI immigrants as a legal person, man. What is this nigga talking about? Okay? And it just shows you the Lord is making, all right, the wise foolish, man. You see, the Lord is making the wise foolish. You see, what the hell is this nigga talking about? AI immigrants? Is your country going to recognize AI immigrants? What is this nigga talking about, man? Okay? And so we're seeing Esau, he's getting ready to crash out, man. Okay, the Lord setting this nigga up for failure, man, because this nigga, he's not even making sense to himself anymore. And it gets worse, man. Let's listen to this nigga, man.
Is something quite different from a person. A legal person is an entity.
So AI individual, AI human, are going to be, wiggling around us, man. Probably already are. Like, what the hell is these people talking about? See? And you don't think they need to be stopped?
That the law recognizes as having certain legal obligations and rights. For example, the right to hold property, to file a lawsuit, and to enjoy freedom of speech. In many countries, corporations are considered legal persons. The Alphabet Corporation can open a bank account, can sue you in court, or can donate to your next presidential campaign. In New Zealand, rivers have been recognized as legal persons. In India, certain gods have been granted such recognition. Of course, until today, recognizing a corporation, a river, or a god as a legal person was just legal fiction. In practice, if a corporation like Alphabet decided to buy another corporation, or if a Hindu god decided to sue you in court, the decision wasn't really made by the god.
What the fuck
It was
is he
made by
talking
some
about?
human executives, shareholders, or trustees. It is different with AIs. Unlike rivers and gods, AIs can actually make decisions by themselves. They will soon be able to make the decisions necessary to manage a bank account, to file a lawsuit, and even to operate a corporation.
So this nigga talking about in India, certain gods have rights. All right. So Buddha can sue your ass, Hindu Shiva can sue your ass. Okay, what are these heathens doing, man? Okay, but this is where they follow Esau to. And AI can't think for its goddamn self, man. If you turn the data center off, the AI turn off. Okay, AI can be unplugged. Okay, that's a false god. You see, Esau, it's a big magic trick. Okay, because if you unplug the data centers, the AI stops. You can't ask chat anything if you disconnect it from the data center. Okay, Grok, any of these things, you disconnect them from the data center and they stop. Okay, it's not a self-thinking entity, man. Okay, it's feeding off all this input that's constantly going into it. Okay, so if you remove, all right, because the data center is the input and output, the input coming from people. So if you stop the people input, okay, if you really want to test AI, well, tell this nigga, okay, AI got enough data. They got all this data right now. So tell this nigga to stop allowing AI to take in new data and see what happens to AI. Okay, it's going to be stagnant. AI feeds off the constant human input that goes into these data centers. Okay, and AI is just an output. All AI can do is do output. Okay, it can't formulate, it can't think without input being put in by humans. And the wisdom that comes, all right, through people comes from who? The Most High. Okay, so this devil had this bootleg idol as if he just done created a consciousness out of nothing, man. This nigga lying. Okay, and he trying to explain it, make it sound deep, and then he just confusion. Nigga talking about a river can be a person. Like, what is this nigga talking about, man? Okay, but he's he's confused. You can tell this nigga Noval Harari. This nigga is confused, man. The way he's trying to explain AI, man. Okay, and that's enough for that guy. Let's go here. Yeah, that nigga crazy, bro. All these Edomites, they just finna crash out. It's time for Esau to crash out, man. Now, let's listen to your guy. All right, Donald Trump. Now, this is what this nigga got up here and said at the World Economic Forum. It's a bunch of nothing, but all this complaining we've heard in 2025 about the economy, people being fired, all these mass layoffs, and there's still mass layoffs happening now. You have people living in RVs and campers. People talk about the van life and tent cities and homelessness. All these things, are becoming the new normal for Americans. People, living in hotels now. Hotel living, they say, is less expensive to stay in the hotel than pay rent. Okay, so you have all this going on, but listen to what this nigga say, man. And he did this, and they just told that nigga to get up there and say anything, just be controversial. Okay, what you call emotional charging. I'm gonna look that up. Well, let's listen to this nigga, man.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. It's great to be back in beautiful Davos, Switzerland, and to address so many respected business leaders, so many friends, few enemies, and all of the distinguished guests. It's a who's who, I will say that. I've come to this year's World Economic Forum with truly phenomenal news from America. Yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of my inauguration, and today, after 12 months back in the White House, our economy is booming, growth is exploding, productivity is surging, investment is soaring, incomes are rising, inflation has been defeated, our previously open and dangerous border is closed and virtually impenetrable. And the United States is in the midst of the fastest and most dramatic economic turnaround in our country's history. Under the Biden administration, America was plagued by the nightmare of stagflation, meaning low growth, and high inflation, a recipe for misery, failure, and decline. But now, after just 1 year of my policies, we are witnessing the exact opposite. Virtually no inflation and extraordinarily high economic growth. Growth like I believe you'll see very shortly our country has never seen before, perhaps no country has ever seen before. Over the past 3 months, core inflation has been just 1.6%. Meanwhile, fourth quarter growth is projected to be 5.4%, far greater than anybody other than myself and a few others had predicted. Since the election, the stock market has set 52 all-time high records. So that's in 1 year, 52 records, adding $9 trillion in value to retirement accounts, 401ks, and people's savings. People are doing very well. They're very happy with me.
And this nigga and that's how he came out the gate, man. At this point, it's like this nigga just trolling now, man. At this point, it's like this nigga is just trolling, man. You see? People are catching pure hell. Okay? This nigga talking about garnishing checks for your student loans. Okay? The dollar has been weakened. You see, groceries are on the rise, rent is on the rise, housing is, people can't afford housing. Okay, the average age of a homeowner went from 33 years old to now 40, and then this nigga did something to where he created a 50-year mortgage. So if you're 40, just now buying a home and a 50-year mortgage, man, that's 90. Okay, but this nigga said that, hey, it's never been better. Okay, and what this devil is meant to do, niggas like Trump, he's an actor, and he's meant to cause emotional charge. Okay, so when you go into emotional charge, it says means something is filled with intense feelings, creation. It said creating high tension or impact, like an emotionally charged speech full of passion or anger, or a memory with strong positive or negative feelings that stick with you. Influencing behavior. It's about emotions being bottled up, ready to explode, or stored energy that affects how we react and remember things, often making situations feel overwhelming or exciting. Okay, so this is what Trump, okay, has been tasked to do, is to keep the masses emotionally charged. Okay, whether you're against or whether you're with Trump, as long as you're emotionally charged, you're distracted, you're confused, you're divided, and you're easily manipulated. Okay, and if you're just keeping up with Trump and you thinking that he's the head honcho in charge and he's making these decisions and you taking everything that he's saying is literal, you're gonna be all over the place, man. Okay, and you're not gonna have a clue of what's really happening in real time. Okay, but yeah, he just got up there and he just went on for an hour talking about himself, how good America is doing. Okay, he said Europe is terrible, Europe is trash. Okay, Europe need to do what we doing, and that was pretty much the whole speech, you know. But uh, yeah, man, confusion is a part of the devil's playbook, man. Okay, and this is why I think the brother got that precept. Seen it earlier. Give a couple of you brothers precept. All right, this the brother affiliate Camp loyal to Yahweh Shah, Isaiah 33:6. It says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure." You know, so we're going to see the value in having this wisdom and knowledge. Because this world is only going to get darker. Okay, more confusion gonna go out, more deception gonna go out, more enchantments and psyops. Okay, and people are going to be, completely overwhelmed. Checked out, defeated. Okay, but the Lord is allowing us to be rooted in Yahweh Shai in the midst of all this confusion. Okay, understanding what is, understanding truth, man. We understand where he's trying to go with this. Okay, if you're following him trying to figure it out, this nigga gonna zigzag all over the place. Okay, but we're at the finish line waiting on this nigga to do what he got to do because we know where this nigga going at. Okay, but this wisdom, like I said, it has us ahead of this nigga. We're waiting on Esau to catch up. Okay, with what he got to do in prophecy, man. Okay, this the brother. All right, faithful 144, hopeful elect. It says Proverbs 29:2 says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn." And I say people are, psychologically just defeated, worn out. Okay, people don't know what to do next. All right, and this man torments people with, his psychological operation. People are tormented, depressed, anxiety. These things are all at an all-time high. The earth language, man. Okay, so we'll end it here. This is brother Tyler One, hopeful elect. Proverbs 29:18. It says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Okay, and if you don't have a vision beyond, all right, what Esau, Edom is pushing as reality, you're going to perish, man, because you're in the trap, you're in the web. Okay, you're confused, you're divided, you're distracted. Okay, if Esau is the source of your instructions and information, okay, and he's painting the vision for you, okay, then you're going to be extremely confused and you're going to be taken. You see, you're going to perish, man. You're going to get caught up in his judgment. Okay, it says, "But he that keepeth the law, happy is he," man. And as we've been able to come into, this understanding, because there's a law of faith, and our faith is going to get us beyond this kingdom, because we got faith that there's something beyond this. Even though we don't see the physical infrastructure for our kingdom, okay, through faith, okay, with this, going to Romans, the law of faith. You see, we believe in something beyond what we see happening right now, man. Okay, because what's happening is temporal. What we don't see is eternal. Okay, with the 2 Corinthians 4, okay, and 18, you know, 2 Corinthians, I think it's 2 Corinthians 4 and 18, man, because what we can see is temporal, all these light, and that's when the scriptures speak about all the works, the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and all the works shall be how all the works shall be melted therein. And that's all these lies and confusion that the devil has established in the earth, man. This is going to go away in this destruction, man. All this confusion that he's established in the earth, okay? All these arguments, all right, that this man has, made. Just these, Esau just got all these non-stop arguments on the planet earth, man. And this devil wasn't stopped. Men and women just will argue forever. Okay, you'll be arguing forever about what bathroom to use, and okay, what the man supposed to be doing, what the woman supposed to be doing. These people just argue forever. It'd be a non-stop argument if this man wasn't removed from power. Okay, the left or right, this and that. Okay, so this is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 18 said, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal, man. And that's why our vision is at. Okay, on the righteous eternal kingdom that is promised in the scriptures to come, okay, in these last days. Okay, at the end of Esau's kingdom, there's a righteous kingdom that's going to be established right after, man. Okay, Jacob's hand holding the heel of Esau. Okay, and the Lord has given us, clarity on these things in these last days, confirmation. Okay, which is faith. So that's the point. Just wanted to get into that. Lord will. You brothers, all right, and your sister was edified once again. Want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations, hopefully. Shalom.